Augusta, former Mayor Deke Copenhaver. It's so hard not to call you Augusta Mayor Deke Copenhaver. It was 3 terms.
Yeah, so after 9 years, yeah, it is what it is.
Well, I want to talk to you. I want to go big picture and ask you a
Yeah.
national political question first, and that is just to get your assessment of the presidential race, in particular the negativity that we're seeing in politics nationwide. You fought a lot of negativity
Yeah.
on the local level. What do you think?
I'll tell you, Brad, it's embarrassing to me when you have presidential candidates getting in Twitter smackdowns with each other. I'm like, that's like teenage girls.
It is.
And I spoke to a friend of mine in Australia recently just to get a view, from what an outsider perspective is from another country. He said, what's happened to America? And we're sort of in the middle of it, but when you think of other people looking in saying that, that's frustrating.
Well, let's talk about your experience with that negativity and with that back and forth. How did you try to rise above it during your 3 terms?
I just never participated in it because to me, if you're trying to sell a city, bring investment into it, you've got to stress the positive. And so often I see politicians that all they do is talk about the negative, and that doesn't sell anything, our country or our city.
Speaking of selling things, at the beginning of February, we cut the ribbon on Unisys. And I know that even though that happened after you were out of office, that's a source of great pride for you. That's big for our community.
Yeah, that was the last economic development deal that I worked on. I still have very strong ties with Unisys. Their head of global security, Tom Patterson, and I have gotten to be good friends. He's relocating here from Silicon Valley. He sees the potential in Augusta, and we're going to work together to make the city the best place it can be.
Will the relocation of Unisys to Augusta spark other businesses to come here, do you think?
Absolutely. And once again, so Tom being head of global security for Unisys is out there around the world on a daily basis. He's kind of like the James Brown of business, constantly promoting the city. So yeah, that's a game changer. We haven't seen the full effects of it yet.
These aren't minimum wage jobs either.
No, and every time I tour that facility, they've invested, from what I understand, about $20 million in the facility. It is just cool, casual workspace, but that's the future of Augusta to me.
How was your trip to California?
It was great, and actually I've got to give credit to Tom again. He set me up with it. Spoke on a CBS syndicated program called Business Rockstars. Great opportunity to promote Augusta, and spoke to a group called METAL, Media, Entertainment, and Technology Alpha Leaders.
Yeah.
So these guys are like the masters of the universe in those fields, and was able to share with them that we're going to become the Silicon Valley of cybersecurity. So put Augusta on the radar with these guys too.
When you're in a room with these entrepreneurs, with these writers, with these high-profile thinkers, what are their ideas? You mentioned us being the Silicon Valley of the next Silicon Valley. Specifically, what are we talking about doing? How can I get in on the next cool business?
Well, it's to bring these entrepreneurs here. Just the environment created by Cyber Command moving to Augusta, the spinoff is what's interesting to me, but these guys just get it. But I'll tell you the interesting thing, Brad, the main question I got when I was there was, what was James Brown like?
Really?
Yeah.
People know him.
People know him. So one of the gentlemen that I was hanging out with that heads up a technology company now, Scott Page, played with Pink Floyd and actually had played with James Brown. His father started this studio out there in Los Angeles. So as a kid, he used to set up chairs for James Brown's posse in this studio. But everybody knows him everywhere you go.
Well, that's a door opener potentially too, isn't it?
That is a huge door opener.
Do Californians know about the Masters?
Californians know about the Masters, yeah. And they, a lot of them had already been here for the tournament. They love the city. So that was great for me to hear that, I'm promoting the city of Augusta and Los Angeles, but a lot of people already had a great impression of the city. And that's how you lure investment.
So staying on the cybersecurity and the tech front, should we look for businesses to be coming to Augusta that are in that field, that support cybersecurity, that support IT?
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to be a hotbed of activity, but you're already seeing it. Unisys is one example. The biggest contract that they have is with the U.S. Army, so that's sort of the lead, I would say, but you're going to see a lot more of that to come in the future.
How long does it take for a deal to get done, to get a company interested in here from that moment until the time they cut the ribbon?
You know, it can take up to a year, and I will say that we've got a great economic development team headed by Walter Sprouse here. My greatest, addition to the team was I was the closer. So they do all the detailed work and get the deal all teed up, which could take us, as I say, months to a year, and I'd come in and help close the deal. And that's sort of the way that I view my trip to Los Angeles and continuing to do this on behalf of the city, is just to bring deals here and close them.
What do you do when you close? What do you say?
You sell them on the city. I mean, we've got a low cost of living, we've got a high quality of life, we're the home of James Brown, 2/3 of Lady Antebellum, I mean, and the list goes on. It's just, for me, it's not a hard sell, and we're an internationally known brand name associated with excellence for being the home of the Masters.
And tax-wise, is it good for businesses to come here? Can they get breaks?
They can get breaks. We've got great incentives packages, but Georgia is such a hub for business activity right now that it's not a hard sell, and I look forward to seeing more and more business come here and good paying jobs. You know, jobs associated with the technology sector are great paying jobs.
How are we doing in Augusta, Richmond County, when it comes to getting and Columbia County, getting our kids ready for these high-tech jobs? Are we doing a good job education-wise?
Yes, now the school systems are both focused on cyber education curriculums, so I think we're doing a good job with that. It's really to create that workforce, not just now, but in the future, that'll be a feeder to those different businesses coming in. I think we're doing a good job, and there are a lot of good people out there working on these issues.
Let me talk about you, or get your opinion as an actor. And for those of you who don't know, this man is a Hollywood veteran, 2 Sandra Bullock movies
Two
so
Sandra
far.
Bullock movies.
So there's the cred alone right there. But recently we saw Georgia's legislature pass this religious liberty law, or consider this religious liberty law, which basically would allow business owners to refuse services to people who violate their religious beliefs. In other words, if I own a wedding chapel, I don't have to have gay weddings if it bothers me. And some are worried that'll hurt the burgeoning film industry in Augusta, in Georgia. Your thoughts on that?
Well, just based on what I've read on it, that industry is reacting negatively to this legislation. I don't know where it'll go, but it does have the potential to impact the film business in Georgia. So that's just an outsider's perspective.
Talk about Copenhaver Consulting. How are things going on that front? What are you up to?
Things are going very well, working with a lot of different businesses to help them navigate, how to do business in Augusta. Also, am doing a webinar this summer for a group called ExecuNet, which is 700,000 CEOs from around the nation. It's a membership organization to sort of talk about what's translatable between running a city government and running a business. So everything is really, a lot of neat stuff going on, and I think when you just open yourself to the possibilities, great stuff happens.
Outside of Charleston, there aren't a lot of multi-term mayors out there, that have 3 or more under their belt, are there?
No, and fortunately we had term limits here, but Joe Riley was obviously mayor for decades in Charleston. I believe in term limits, although, some would make the argument the longer you stay, the more you get done, but still, I think there's a time to serve and a time to take a break from it.
Would you like to be mayor again?
Brad, everything with me is situational. I survey the landscape, and I'm never going to say never. I love the city. I'm heavily invested in the city, so we'll see what happens in the future.
Do you think Hardy Davis is doing a good job?
I think he's got a difficult set of circumstances, and Hardy is a friend, but it seems like there's a disconnect between the mayor and the commission at this point, and there's a lot of fragmentation. So I know what it's like to be in that position and to try to manage personalities and egos and everything. So I feel for him. It's difficult.
And the mayor's door for you is not closed?
No, it's not closed, but I will say that also for Hardy, my door is always open to the mayor to be there as a resource for him.
Yeah, you were in those trenches for a long time. You know what he's going through.
I've got the scars to prove it.
Deke Copenhaver, congratulations on your post-mayoral success, and thank you for all your public service.
Thank you, Brad. It's always a pleasure being with you.
Anytime. We love having Deke Copenhaver on the Means Report.